And I'm going to share with you how you can handle that and how you can completely destroy your opponent who's trying this unsound trick against you. I'm talking about the Englund Gambit arising from white playing pawn to d4 and black responding with this seemingly absurd looking move pawn to e5. At first it looks like give up chance white could just capture this pawn, and white should do that, but black has something in mind. After knight to c6 attacking this pawn once, white naturally defends it with knight to f3, and here black continues with queen to e7, attacking this pawn for the second time. Therefore, the most natural reaction of white once again would be to defend the central pawn by playing bishop to f4. So far it looks like white is completely dominating with an extra pawn, black is awkward, life is good. But here comes black's counterattack, queen to b4. This is actually a triple attack to the king, as well as this bishop on f4 and the pawn on b2. And the way to handle that for white would be bring the bishop down to d2, covering the king, and a queen takes here on b2, as well as attacking white's rook on a1, and that is the moment of truth. Most players here play white who are unfamiliar of this trap. They automatically play bishop c3, which looks really cool, attacks the queen, defends the rook, gains a tempo. All is good, but that fails right into black's trap. Here comes bishop b4, and that pins the bishop down to the queen, therefore it can't capture your queen anymore. But instead, while have to defend this bishop somehow, now the rook on a1 is still hanging, and white is left with all these problems. Bishop takes b4, black simply recaptures, and now not only the rook is still hanging on a1, but black is also threatening knight takes c2, which is actually nearly checkmate, and is going to attack the king as well as this rook on a1 once again, and white is overwhelmed and completely destroyed within just 7 moves. So that's what you definitely should stay away from. At first this may seem like, okay, black, you just got that one single trick they're relying on, and it's very simple for you to tackle it. You just need to address that one trick. But when I checked this in the database, I've noticed one surprising thing. Here, if you look at this area, you can see the stockfish valley is the position after the white's correct move, knight to c3, as plus pre, as if white is having an extra piece, which should be completely winning for white, and the win percentage for white should be crazy high. But the reality is completely opposite. So here you can see that the win rate of white is only 52%, which is nothing special, it is just standard. Moreover, if I go next after knight c3, and let's say black responds with knight to b4, continuing this attacking attempt, now even black wins more games, although stockfish still insists that this is plus 3. So a lot of the players don't know how to follow up here, although the position remains to be tricky. And that's why I want to share with you how not only to defend against black's unsound attack, but how to counterattack effectively and how to completely destroy black within a couple moves. Okay, first thing first. First of all, we do know that in order to defend this rook, you should not do that with bishop to c3, as that's an error that falls right into their trap after bishop to b4. Instead of this, you do want to play knight to c3. This way your queen starts defending the rook, and simultaneously you also bring one more piece into action, which is always nice. In this case, there are 2 major options of black to try to continue pressuring you. One of them being knight to b4, insisting on this knight takes c2 tactics, attacking the king as well as the rook, and the second one be bishop b4, putting pressure along this diagonal. We're going to cover both of them, starting from the main line of black, which is bishop to b4. Now the position still remains to be kind of a little bit unpleasant for white. There is this threat of bishop takes c3. The rook on a1 is slightly hanging. It is defended currently, but anyway, white's position seems to be shaky. So what you do play here is rook to b1. First of all, you counterattack, and secondly, you don't have to worry about this hanging rook anymore. Now, the queen has only one square to retreat, queen to a3. And in this position, most players switch to just defending their knight and then developing, but I would recommend that you start counterattacking again. Black plays this unsound attack against you. It shouldn't be good for black, and it isn't good. You can refute that by going aggressively knight to d5. So this way, not only you defend this knight and it won't be captured anymore, but you counterattack this pawn on c7, threatening to fork his king and rook. In addition to that, this bishop on b4 is hanging as well, that for bishop takes d2 is more or less forced, queen recaptures. Here they may try the lost trick, queen takes a2, counterattacking your rook for the lost time. In this case, you just bring to the center of the board, rook to d1. And now their attack is completely over, there is nothing else they can do, And now they still have to address this threat of knight takes c7, forking the king and the rook. Now, of course, your opponent playing these cookie opening may be like, I don't give a fuck, and goes king d8. But that's not the end of the story. You won't let them slip so easily, because here you prepare yet another fork with a move knight to g5. They stun threatening this pawn f7, which will still fork the king and the rook. And now Black is completely overwhelmed. Not only there are kings here standing very exposedly in the middle of the board, but also we have a lot of interesting threats. And the fall operations are just a lot of fun. I really wish you played them once. Now, how do Black defend this pawn on f7? One way would be to capture your pawn on e5, which simultaneously defends this pawn. To this you respond queen to c3 with a lot of attacks all over the place, really. Now you're threatening queen takes c7 check. You're also threatening this knight on e5. It cannot really go away because first it needs to defend this pawn, and secondly your queen is also x-raying this diagonal. You can just see how much pressure you put on Black and how much you make them suffer. One way for Black to handle this is playing pawn to f6, which both defends the knight as well as counterattacks yours. And here there is an absolutely phenomenal finish. Really, I mean, it's not that easy to find it if you're just playing the game. And by the way, the position remains to be a little bit complicating, you know, like pieces are attacking each other, calculating operations aren't that simple. But if you know these tactics, you're going to be crushing it within just 3 moves, basically. Knight to e6 check. It's a common tactical theme that since we've got this Black's king standing in the middle of the board, we're going to open up this file where we already have a rook standing. Now, pawn to ace follows by queen takes c7 check to the king, forces the king to move, and now we would love to deliver this rook to d8 checkmate, but we've got the knight standing out of the way, so we'll just sacrifice it with knight takes f6, and after knight recaptures, here comes rook to d8 checkmate. And it's a really beautiful refutation of Black's tricky opening. After Vienna has played knight to g5, threatening knight takes f7, besides knight takes e5, which we just covered, there is one more way for Black to try to defend it by playing knight to h6, defending the pawn that way. And in this case, you still have a beautiful reputation, to some extent similar to the previous formation. We'll still want to break open the d-file and get to Black's king. And you do that by playing pawn to e6, just trying to get rid of this pawn. They recapture that way, but you don't hesitate to sacrifice your knight, and after a pawn recaptures, now the goal is accomplished, we got this d-file open, and although you could try to attack Black's king, but it's even easier to just drop the knight back, and it turns out that this is a discovered attack of Black's queen, because this is check to the king, they have to move the king and then you pick up the queen, and continue attacking Black's king, so this is once again completely winning for white. So we've just covered Black's main line, bishop b4 trying to attack you along this diagonal. There is also the second try, knight to b4, hoping that you're going to overlook this knight takes c2, fork to your king and rook. Now, of course, you shouldn't do that, you need to defend this pawn, and the way you go is playing knight to d4, where you defend the pawn that way. But that's not the end. Black continues with pawn to c5, trying to get rid of your knight, so that they could still execute their main threat of knight takes c2. Now, what do you do then? What is really helpful in this variation is that move rook to b1. It's very useful to play this in-between moves just so that you kick this queen away. You don't have to worry about defending your rook anymore. So rook b1 counterattacks the queen. It has to go away. I can follow up with knight to b5. So not only you get rid of this attack, but also you counterattack the queen. Plus you threaten knight to c7, forking the king and the rook, so you kind of turn the situation around. They wanted to deliver this fork to you, but now you're threatening this. And in light of that, the queen has to go back to a5, so that the queen is no longer attacked and cowers this square on c7. Now you play pawn to a3, and at first leg you just keep attacking, things are going smoothly, it looks like you are nearly winning. If Black moves the knight back, you win really easily, but there is one last trick that Black can try. So first off, they cannot really move the knight back, because then you go knight to d5, which opens up this discovered attack, and you then insist on playing knight to c7 on the next move, because now you've got 2 knights supporting that square, so that's just easily winning. But here instead, because Black is playing this tricky opening, you know, they love these tricks, they're going to play pawn a6. And that creates a bit of a chaotic situation, because yeah, you can grab this knight on b4, they recapture, But now it's still not that clear for white how to save your beaters, because the black is attacking a lot of them. And that's why I said that, computer will tell you that white is like completely winning. I don't know what the evaluation is, but it's probably like plus 10. But if you aren't aware of these variations, you can easily lose this game, which often happens to players just because the position remains to be very complicated. So that's why I wanted to really share it with you today. Now, what saves you here once again is that in-between rook move. So it's a critical tactical pattern here. By going rook to a1, you once again kick this queen away, as well as now your rook is actually fairly active on the a file. So if the queen goes back, what you may notice here is that actually black is no longer threatening to capture your knight, because this pawn is pinned down to the rook, and that's not an advantage of you bringing your rook to a1. So this in-between rook move is something worth noticing here. Now, at this point, let me actually ask you to think about this. I think it's going to be a good warm-up tactical training for you. It is white to move and win. If you can find the solution, please write it down in the comments below. If you can, just scroll the comments. Probably somebody will find it. It's not like super difficult tactics. So far we've been covering how black should not play this opening, but actually this first move pawn to e5 is an interesting opening gambit for black. The point is, instead of relying on a single tactical trick, black should then continue seeking for long-term initiative